What is up, everybody? Mr. Curtis here. Welcome to Unit 2.2. We're doing French Revolution Outcomes Part 2 here. The last video was on Part 1, which is the initial phases of the French Revolution. This is the second part. Just a quick little refresher. We did French Revolution causes, which were Enlightenment and American Revolution, unequal social classes or taxation, poor harvest, and weak leaders. And that led to our first part of effects or outcomes, which was the Declaration of the Rights of Man and the rise of this group called the Jacobins, who was led by Maximilien Robespierre, who chopped off people's heads with the guillotine of anyone who was enemies of the revolution. And the irony of it at this point is we're promoting democracy and equality, and then this group comes in saying they're promoting democracy and equality, and they're chopping people's heads off without a trial. Totally the opposite of what the Enlightenment ideas were founded on. And there is this period after the Jacobins and Robespierre are removed from power where people want stability. And that brings us to this guy today, which is phase 3 of the French Revolution, our final phase. So we have the first phase, which is about kind of increased rights, second phase, which was about the radical phase, and then this part, which is Napoleon Bonaparte or Napoleon Bonaparte. He is a French military leader. He's actually not from France. He's from a little island in the Mediterranean off of Italy called Corsica, but that's neither here nor there. He's a French military leader. And with all this craziness of Robespierre, this guy, Napoleon, had been around since the start of the French Revolution. He was seen as kind of the hero, the military hero of the French Revolution. If there was ever a problem that needed to be put down, he is eventually going to be the one to kind of be sent and to stop whoever's rebelling against the revolution. So he's this military leader. And as things are kind of crazy in France, he's eventually going to be asked to kind of restore order. He's seen as this, like I said, hero in France. He had really never lost a military battle. It's believed that he did lose one, but no one really knew about it, and that was in Egypt. But he's going to go about and kind of become this bigger than life figure. And kind of two pictures of him here. We have one of him on his horse and another one here just kind of doing this pose. And what he does is he's eventually going to be asked to temporarily take over France. He says, I'm going to take it over for a little bit. Let me just restore order. Then we'll go back to elections and democracy and all that stuff. He doesn't do it. And what he does is this is a picture right here, kind of symbolic of who Napoleon was and his bigger than life personality. In order to be coronated or crowned as King of France at this time, you had a mass that was done by either an archbishop or the Pope. In this case, so a religious leader does a mass and does a ceremony, and then at the end of it, you are crowned by the Catholic Church. So in this case, he's in this mass, and the Catholic Church is getting ready to crown him as Emperor of France. And as the religious figure, I believe it was the archbishop, gets ready to put the crown on top of Napoleon's head, Napoleon snatches the crown and puts it on his own head. Kind of this idea that you don't crown me Emperor of France, I crown myself. Now, I wanted to point out as well an irony of this. We're supposed to be promoting Enlightenment ideas and democracy. An emperor is the opposite of that. He is not. You can't be an Enlightenment thinker and promote Enlightenment ideas and be a monarch. It's just that's not how it works. However, here's what he does. He does create a Napoleonic code, and a Napoleonic code is a law code that he creates that he does keep Enlightenment ideas in France. So it's not like we're going back to absolute monarchy, but he's not a true democratic leader. He wasn't elected. He crowns himself emperor, but he does keep some Enlightenment ideas. He brings public schools into play, which is one of the most Enlightenment equality things that you can have, because regardless of income, you get access to an education. He's going to end slavery, which is a big deal. Remember William Wilberforce and the Enlightenment in England. So connection to that, and also fair taxation. So this whole idea of this revolution starting because of unequal social classes, he's going to create fair taxation. So he does keep some of this. And what he's also going to do is he's going to expand France's empire. So he goes out and he starts conquering places. He gets very aggressive in the early 1800s, and he conquers essentially anything that you see in blue here. And what you see in pink here, which is Austria, is going to become an ally. So they really expand to almost all of what we would call Western Europe and into Eastern Europe over here. When he spreads this stuff, he's going to spread his Napoleonic code. So he is essentially spreading Enlightenment ideas as he conquers places, even though he isn't a true democratically elected leader. So we're going to see him spread this stuff. So he's going to go on the offensive. So it's like 8 or 9 years of just straight up conquering. And he is such a good military leader that it is successful for him. But however, he makes one big mistake. He gets here to the edge of what is Russia, and he decides he's going to invade Russia. And they invade Russia, but they get stuck in the wintertime. And the one lesson if nothing else, geographically, that you take from this course, and we'll get to it again in the 1940s with another leader, you don't invade Russia in the wintertime. When Russia gets cold, as you think, there's snow, and then eventually, as the spring rolls around, that snow melts and it gets super muddy. So if you invade Russia, you need to capture the capital city or capture the major city of Moscow here before winter hits. And what happens to Napoleon is they get stuck just outside the city as winter's about ready to start in October, and they get stuck. And he loses hundreds of thousands of soldiers in the process of this, and he is forced to retreat back. And when he retreats back, so I'm going to come back here to this map, when he retreats back into France, his enemies, who he has conquered over the past 8 years and 9 years, say, now's the time to strike and get him out of power. We don't want this guy in charge of our country. And just a little political cartoon here. Here's Napoleon standing on these two stilts. This is Madrid in Spain, and this is Moscow in Russia. And coming back here, it's almost like this imaginary thing from here to here. And his empire got so big, he tried to conquer way too much, and the stilts couldn't handle the weight of what he had to do, and he falls into the river. When he's eventually going to be captured by his enemies, and they are going to capture him and send him to this little island right here called Elba, which is a horrible idea because it is right next to his homeland of Corsica, right here in the Caribbean or Mediterranean Sea, sorry, and it's right next to France. And his supporters, who did not want to see him removed from power in France, help him escape. He returns back into France. Yeehaw! They're so excited. Parades in the street for Napoleon coming back, and 100 days, he rules for 100 days in France, and then he's recaptured again. And this time they say, hey, yo, we put him right here in Elba. We're not putting him there again. We're going to send him to this little island off the coast of Africa. Actually, not even off the coast, 1,000 miles off of Africa, called St. Helena. So he's going to spend the rest of his life there. He's eventually going to die on the island. Rest in peace, Napoleon. So why I care about this guy, why I always say this, why is it important? He's going to spread Enlightenment ideas. It's a huge piece of this, spread Enlightenment ideas to Europe. So what we're going to see in the mid 1800s is, as a result of Napoleon's rule, it's going to spread Enlightenment ideas, and other people are going to start talking about it. The next video that we're going to talk about is this key piece right here. He is in charge. Coming back here, there it is. He is in charge of Spain. He puts his brother in control of Spain. There are still a lot of colonies in the Americas that are part of the Spanish Empire, and those colonies in Latin America, modern day Guatemala, Colombia, El Salvador, Mexico, those modern areas today in this time are still under the rule of the Spanish king. And with Napoleon's brother in charge, it basically becomes a French colony. And the people in the Americas say, we have no loyalty to him, we're going to rebel, which we'll get to in the next video. Third thing is that we're going to see something else that we're going to talk about in a couple of days or a couple of weeks is nationalism. As a result of Napoleon invading these places, people start to unite together in these regions and try and form a united country to fight against people like Napoleon moving forward. So these next two things, this is our next video. This is the one after. So we'll get into these things. And that's really why Napoleon's important. His legacy, even though he's only in charge of France and for 15 years-ish, his legacy lives on in terms of what he does as a result of spreading. So that's what we got. Any questions, let me know. Write it down. We'll talk. I'm out.